imagine an architecture built over a lifetime. Walls constructed of logic, duty, compartmentalization, and survival. This is the traditional masculine ego. It is a fortress designed to keep the unpredictable elements of the world on the outside. And then a frequency arrives. It does not attack the gates. It does not lay siege to the walls. Instead, it simply passes right through the stone, rendering the heavy defenses entirely transparent. When a man encounters a love that defies the gravity of his known reality, his first instinct is not surrender. His first instinct is survival. Observe the architecture of the masculine psyche when it collides with its ultimate mirror. To the outside observer, it looks like romance. But internally, for the man who has not yet mapped his own depths, it feels like an invasion of the soul. It is a profound, terrifying unmaking. He looks at the woman standing before him. He feels a recognition that bypasses the cognitive brain, a knowing that echoes in the marrow of his bones. But the mind, the logical protective mind, cannot categorize this. It cannot control it. And for a psyche structured around control, a force that cannot be controlled registers as a mortal threat. This is the paradox of the unawakened masculine in the presence of a profound spiritual connection. He is drawn to the light, yet terrified of being consumed by the fire. He experiences the deepest love he has ever known, not as a gentle homecoming, but as an existential crisis. Today, we are going to look behind the veil of the masculine experience. We will dismantle the illusion of his indifference. We will explore the invisible forces of quantum mirroring, nervous system overload, and the shadow self. Because until you understand how the masculine truly experiences this magnitude of love, you will remain trapped in the illusion of his rejection. To understand the sudden withdrawal of the masculine, we must first look at the intricate machinery of the human animal. Let us speak of the nervous system and the architecture of survival. From a very young age, the masculine is deeply conditioned to regulate his internal and external environment through a specific set of tools. These tools are logic, decisive action, and emotional suppression. His autonomic nervous system learns to associate absolute safety with absolute autonomy. To be safe is to be the master of his domain. To be safe is to understand the rules of the game. He builds a fortress of predictable outcomes. He learns to compartmentalize his feelings because the world demands his strength, not his vulnerability. This creates a highly functional but rigidly defended ego. Then, the spiritual counterpart enters his reality. When this profound collision occurs, it does not happen on the superficial level of personality. It does not follow the predictable rules of modern dating. It happens on the unseen level of quantum entanglement. They share an invisible, energetic field. When the unawakened counterpart looks into the eyes of his ultimate mirror, his nervous system experiences a shock. His vagus nerve, the biological superhighway of his emotional regulation, is suddenly hijacked by a frequency he did not authorize. He begins to feel your emotions. He feels your immense depth. But far more terrifyingly, this mirror forces him to feel his own suppressed grief. He is suddenly confronted with his own unhealed trauma. He is forced to look at his own shadow. The holder of space, the one who is spiritually awakened, often perceives this connection as a beautiful, destined merging. You feel a profound homecoming. But the avoidant soul perceives this exact same merging as a dangerous engulfment. Carl Jung, the great analytical psychologist, spoke extensively of the anima. The anima is the unconscious feminine aspect residing deep within the male psyche. For most of his adult life, a man safely projects his anima onto ordinary romantic partners. This projection is manageable. It allows him to experience love without ever having to dismantle his core identity. He can remain in control. But when he meets his true spiritual mirror, this comfortable projection instantly collapses. He is no longer looking at a mere romantic partner. He is looking directly at the raw, unfiltered essence of his own soul. And if his soul is carrying decades of unexamined pain, that reflection is absolutely blinding. What does the human nervous system do when it accidentally touches a burning stove? It does not rationalize. It does not pause to consider the heat. It violently recoils. He pulls away. He creates immediate physical and emotional distance. He frantically builds new, thicker walls. In his desperation to regulate his overloaded nervous system, he may even seek out superficial connections. He might retreat into lower vibrational environments. He will likely bury himself in the material world of work, logic, and distraction. The anxious heart watches this sudden retreat and assumes the worst. You tell yourself that he simply does not care. You believe you made the whole connection up. You conclude that you are simply not enough for him to stay. This is the greatest and most painful illusion of the entire spiritual journey. His withdrawal is never a measure of his indifference. It is the exact, precise measurement of his internal overwhelm. He runs not because the connection is weak, but because the immense gravity of it threatens to crush the only identity he has ever known. He is actively experiencing a death of the ego, and the human ego will always fight for its life with everything it has. In the quantum field, there is a fundamental principle of mirroring. As the anxious heart leans in, you desperately seek validation. You seek to fix the problem. You try to heal the connection with your love. But as you do this, you unknowingly amplify his internal panic. Your energetic pursuit feels to his dysregulated nervous system like a relentless demand. It feels like you are asking him to step into a raging fire that he is not yet fireproofed for. He experiences this magnitude of love as a total loss of personal sovereignty. To his unawakened mind, to love you fully means to lose himself entirely. He feels he will drown in the depth of what you share. And until he learns that he can exist within this vast ocean without drowning, he will continue to desperately paddle back to the dry, barren land of his logic. His retreat is a survival mechanism. It is the only way his mind knows how to keep him alive. Here's the profound shift in perspective that changes absolutely everything. We must completely redefine the human concept of distance. In our standard third-dimensional reality, distance looks like silence. It looks like unread messages. It looks like coldness. It looks like a permanent absence. But in the unseen realm of quantum entanglement, there is simply no such thing as away. When two souls share a foundational energetic blueprint, physical space does not sever the bond. It only stretches the band. When the avoidant soul pulls back into his fortress, he is not actually leaving the connection. He is stretching the energetic thread that binds you both. And in that stretched, uncomfortable space, a deeply necessary alchemy is occurring. In the physical world, we measure connection by proximity. We measure love by time spent together and words spoken. But spiritual psychology demands a higher vantage point. You must learn to read the energy behind the silence. When he stops communicating, the energy does not die. It goes underground. It becomes a subterranean river, carving new pathways through his subconscious mind. You cannot see the river, but it is reshaping the entire landscape of his psyche. This is why you still feel him when he is gone. Your nervous systems are still communicating in the dark. The phantom limb sensation you experience is not a delusion. It is the raw data of quantum entanglement. You must understand that his sudden distance is not a void. It is not an empty space where love used to be. It is an active, vital laboratory for his soul. When he is physically or energetically with you, the spiritual frequency, is simply too high. The light of your shared connection is too blinding. He cannot hear his own internal thoughts. He can only feel the overwhelming, terrifying presence of the bond. He desperately requires the silence to integrate the shock of your existence. He needs the physical separation to process the fact that his carefully constructed world has been permanently altered. His withdrawal is not a rejection of your love. It is the very mechanism of his spiritual awakening. Without this vast distance, his rigid ego cannot safely dismantle. The masculine ego is a structure of immense density. It is built over decades of societal conditioning. It cannot be dismantled gently. It requires a controlled demolition. Your presence is the spark, but his isolation is the necessary perimeter for the blast. If you stand too close to a collapsing building, you will be crushed by the debris. His higher self pushes you away to protect you from his own unraveling. He must face his shadow alone. He must sit in the uncomfortable ashes of his former identity. He must realize that the logic that kept him safe is now keeping him imprisoned. If you remain energetically in his space, he will fight you. If you continue to push him, guide him, or attempt to hold his hand through his awakening, he will naturally resist you. His ego will conveniently use you as the enemy. It will project all of its fear onto you. But when you completely remove your energetic pressure, everything changes. When you step back into your own sovereign power, you remove the opposition. You leave him entirely alone with the mirror, and a man cannot outrun his own reflection forever. Without you there to fight against, his ego must finally turn inward and face itself. This brings us to the pain you are currently experiencing. The deep, visceral grief of this separation is not a cosmic punishment. It is not a sign that you have done something wrong. It is a profound spiritual recalibration. The universe is intentionally using his absence to force your evolution. It is forcing you to find your own internal center of gravity. As long as you require his physical or emotional presence to feel safe, you are operating from the wounded ego. You are doing the exact same thing he is doing. You are two sides of the very same coin. He avoids the deep waters to feel safe. You frantically chase the deep waters to feel safe. Both actions are trauma responses. Both are deep-seated survival mechanisms. The ultimate paradigm shift requires you to see the hidden perfection in this painful dynamic. You must realize that his physical absence is actually the highest act of love his higher self could possibly orchestrate. It is the breaking of your internal dam. It is the exact catalyst required to shatter your codependency. His silence forces you to stop looking outward for the divine. It forces you to stop seeking salvation in another human being. It finally, brutally, and beautifully forces you to turn your gaze inward. You are forced to confront your own emptiness. You are forced to heal the parts of you that believe you are incomplete without his validation. This is where your true work begins. You must stop waiting for the mirror to smile first. You must become the source of your own light. When you obsess over his healing, you are abandoning your own. You are using his spiritual journey as a distraction from your inner void. The universe removes him so you have nothing left to distract you. You are left alone in the room with your own soul. This is the gift of the separation phase. It strips away every illusion you held about love. It destroys the fairy tale so the truth can finally emerge. He was never meant to be your final destination. He is the profound catalyst for your own spiritual expansion. And the moment you truly realize this truth, the entire dynamic of the quantum field shifts. Understanding the philosophy of this connection is only the very first step. Intellectual awareness must eventually become a lived somatic reality. You can understand the mechanics of the quantum field perfectly, but if your nervous system is still trapped in a state of panic, nothing will change. The mind cannot trick the body. You must learn how to actively shift the energy today. You must move from being a victim of the connection to a master of your own frequency. This requires 3 profound internal movements. These are not mental exercises. They are energetic shifts that will fundamentally alter the quantum field you share. The first movement is to relinquish the phantom limb. Right now, a massive amount of your life force is extended outward. You are unconsciously and constantly scanning the quantum field for his specific frequency. You are checking his social media. You are analyzing his silence. You are waiting for a subtle shift in the wind. This outward focus is a massive energetic drain. It acts exactly like a phantom limb. It is a part of you that feels missing and is constantly aching. You must consciously recall your energy. Every time you focus on his absence, you are sending him a frequency of lack. You are energetically suffocating him. The energy you send him in your state of longing is heavy. It feels like a demand. It feels like a subtle manipulation. He can feel you waiting for him to change. This waiting is a form of energetic control. You must surrender this control completely. True detachment is not about not caring. It is about caring so deeply that you allow him the dignity of his own painful process. When you catch your mind wandering into his territory, you must gently but firmly pull the thread back. You must silently say to yourself that you release him to his own journey. You must call your life force back to your own physical center. When you finally stop pulling on this energetic cord, the resistance instantly drops. The avoidant soul suddenly feels a vast, empty space where your heavy pressure used to be. And only in that clean, empty space can his own higher self finally speak to him. The second movement is to alchemize the anxious heart. Your nervous system is currently addicted to an exhausting cycle of hypervigilance. You are constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. You must intentionally move from the archetype of the anxious heart to the sovereign center. This requires deep, deliberate nervous system regulation. When the sudden panic of separation hits you, do not try to outthink it. The logical mind cannot heal the terrified body. The body must be the vessel that heals the mind. You must breathe deeply into your lower belly. You must physically ground your feet into the earth. You must feel the actual, physical weight of your own existence in the present moment. You must teach your body that you are entirely safe without his presence. Because as long as your nervous system screams that his absence is a mortal threat to your survival, you remain trapped in the frequency of lack. And the quantum field is a perfect mirror. It only reflects back what you fundamentally are. If your baseline frequency is lack, you will only manifest more absence. You must become the anchor. You must become the immovable mountain. You must prove to your own selves that you are whole. The third movement is to withdraw the projection of the divine. This is the deepest and most confronting psychological work of the entire journey. You have unconsciously projected your own inner gold onto this man. You have made him the sole keeper of your joy. You have made him the ultimate validator of your worth. You have turned him into the ultimate symbol of divine love. You must take your gold back. You must recognize a profound psychological truth. The breathtaking, transcendent love you felt in his presence was never actually his love. It was your own immense capacity to love, simply reflected back to you. He was merely the mirror clean enough to show you the beauty of your own soul. When you make another human being your higher power, you crush them under the weight of your expectations. No human being can sustain the projection of the divine. They will inevitably fail you. They will fall from grace. This fall is necessary so you can reclaim your own spiritual autonomy. You must take him off the towering pedestal you built for him. You must humanize him. You must see him simply as a man. He is a man with a terrified nervous system. He is a man with a fragile, defensive ego. He is a man fighting a profound and messy inner battle. You must forgive him for not being a god. You must forgive him for not being able to save you. And in doing so, you must forgive yourself for ever giving away your own divinity. The love you are desperately searching for is the love you are made of. You do not need him to access the divine. You only needed him to show you where the door was. Now you must walk through it alone. When a man truly experiences love in this magnitude, it is not a fairy tale. It is a profound, earth-shattering initiation. It requires the dismantling of everything he thought he was. Do not judge his process by the timeline of your own anxiety. The universe does not rush the blooming of a lotus, nor does it rush the awakening of a soul. You are not a victim of his avoidance. You are a master of your own expansion, currently participating in a highly advanced spiritual curriculum. Let the fortress crumble at its own pace. Let the ocean settle. Focus entirely on the architecture of your own peace. Because when you finally surrender the need to control the connection, when you finally rest in the absolute certainty of your own sovereign wholeness, that is the exact moment the gravity shifts. Love is not a place we arrive at by force. It is the gravity that unmakes us until only the truth remains. Until next time, remain centered, remain whole.